On today's episode, I'm going to share with you how I go about guiding clients from contact to contract and how I'm able to close larger project deals because I've got an organised process.
How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max, I am your host and I'm the ambitious founder of elitebusinessadvisory.com, where we specialise in business coaching for builders and general contractors. Welcome to you if this is your first time. I appreciate you chiming in and having a look. Hopefully you take something away that's of value to you and your building company. And if you've been with me for the long term, obviously, as usual, I really appreciate the love. And, I think if you feel it in your heart and you've got something nice to share, maybe you could share this podcast with somebody who you think might need it or benefit from it. And certainly, jump in there and give us a bit of a rating. Hopefully it's a good one. That would be much appreciated. Don't forget, Business for Builders VIP, get across there, answer the questions. If you answer those and you're a good sort, I will let you in, you know the drill. Today, following on from last week, I think I outlined the fact that I've got a little bit of a flow happening. It's a bit of a hat trick. If you're a cricketer, you'll know what that means, but that could be an international terminology, hat trick. Anyway, 3 in a row. So last week I talked to you about or shared with you how we would go about, having a very specific approach to qualifying an inquiry using a scorecard. If you didn't hear that or you didn't see that episode before, be sure to get across there. I think it was episode 240. And if you want the scorecard, shoot me an email, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com, and I will shoot you back the PDF version of that scorecard. And I'm sure that's going to be a big help to you. Right. So that last episode was about identifying the clients that we wish to work. In other words, the high value targets, the ones that are going to, that we can serve at the highest level, that are going to obviously create the best, financial influence on our business that we can. This episode, however, is kind of one step up off of that. It's now how to guide high value targets. Okay. And so you may not be in a position, I think I shared last episode about, you've got to make sure that you are not only attracting, but you're looking to work for clients that fit your skill set and your expertise, that you're not really punching too far above your weight. Because remember, you're playing with people's lives and their money. And we've just got to be very mindful that we don't want to do the wrong thing. And in some cases, we have to basically concede and go, look, this project is not going to suit me. It's too big for me or what have you. Right. So as you grow up, depending on where you are at, and this is why this podcast is good for awareness and education, but there's no accountability because I'm talking to a wall or a camera here, right? So if I was working with you as a client, I would get to know you and I'd start asking questions about your skill set, and then that would lead us to, right, this is the kind of preferred client profile, this is the type of project that we want to do, and start to create a bit of a niche and a bit of an understanding of where we want to direct our attention as far as projects are concerned. But let's go to the other end of the scale and pretend you've walked through that journey and you're in a position where you go, Max, I'm ready to do $500,000 plus projects, or I'm ready to do $1.5 million projects. What we've got to understand is you've got to grow into that position where you have the authority. Now, generational builders tend to benefit from this because they watch daddy build the company and they've been involved in the operation at some level right from early age, right up to the point perhaps where they've taken over the company or bought the company. And so they've benefited from being able to have a front row seat and be able to see operations and watch it happen, good, bad, and ugly, okay? But if you're like me, my old man was a preacher. Not really, there was no construction expertise there that was demonstrated. And yet when I got in the building game at age 16, it was a very steep and a fast learning curve because all of a sudden I was involved with I didn't know it at the time, but Phil was very much a gangster when it comes to construction and business, clearly. Anyone that can build $200 million worth of high rises is not doing too bad. Okay, so today, how to guide a high value target. Okay, so we're going to look at all the way from a discovery stage all the way through to you, as you can see, notes on the board behind me, some organizational pressure and how to manage that. Because it's ironic, we just think, well, we're going to get bigger ticket items and bigger jobs and bigger projects, and I'm going to be able to just maintain that. Now, you need to be aware that if you've been doing $25,000 bathrooms, the minute you go into, like I've got a job coming up shortly that's over 900,000, it's a second story addition. I'm telling you, my friend, that job is going to have a little bit more of a demand on me than a $25,000 bathroom. Okay, those bathrooms I do in my sleep, I quote in the driveway, it's easy to do, right? So I've obviously graduated on my ability to handle that. I don't see that as stressful. To me, there's very little risk. I've got the financial wherewithal to be able to back myself up if something does go a little bit pear-shaped in the bathroom. But as far as a $900,000 build, that's a different ballgame, okay? So that's kind of where we're starting, and the discovery phase right through to not just winning the job, but managing the pressure or having grace under fire, let's say. Right, the pressure's on the builders. During the process, they can be intense. The pressure can be intense, but with the right approach and solid process in place, you can confidently take on larger projects and grow your business. Now, per month, per year, it's obviously the more contracts that you can put together, the more money that you'll make in that, that 4 quarters of that financial year. But if you've not got your numbers right, or you're not watching your numbers, or you don't know how to manage that size business, it's probably going to be a flash in the pan and you're going to end up on the street. And you're going to end up with the 50% of builders that go broke in the first 5 years. And then of the amount of 50% that's left over, by year 10, 80% of those are gone broke, or 75%. So it's 25% in total by year 10, 75% are out of the business, okay? So what are you doing today that's going to stop you from being a statistic? Now, this is where I talk about awareness, education. There's no accountability here, my friend. You're sitting here looking at me and I can't ask you. You're listening to me if you're driving down the road or on the treadie or whatever. There's no accountability because I can't push you to go a little bit above and beyond your comfort zone so I can watch you start to grow. In a lot of my EBA coaching client sessions where I'm dealing with builders all around the world, there's times where I have to put my finger in a pain point and go, bro, or broette, or what about this? Why are you doing that? Because that's accountability. Now, if you're a builder and you've got subcontractors and you've got team, if you're having trouble with that group, it's because I would just about bet there's no accountability. See, if you know the power of accountability, you would get a coach. And then in doing that, you would then make your team accountable for their actions and activities, and you would actually have a better building company. But if you don't know how to keep people accountable, it's probably because you're not accountable to anybody else. Think about that. That's a little bit of a digression there. But it's unless, if I can demonstrate to you as a business coach how I keep you accountable, because that's the third tier after we get beyond awareness and education. When I demonstrate that to you and I talk about that, and I think we chatted about this a few episodes ago, where we've got to get systems in place. We've then got to get lead gen sorted out. Then we've got to be able to recruit well, and then to make sure that we have the team operating at the maximum output, we've got to have accountability measures. If you don't know what accountability is all about and you don't understand the interaction between systems and accountability, you're going to struggle. You're just going to struggle. You'll never get it off the ground. Now, I've said this, I think, in a recent episode too, that whoever serves the best will lead the most. Whoever serves the best will lead the most. And that comes down to because I'm here to serve you. I'm here to do what I can for you, right? And so as I do that, that is an attractive trait. And so there's a relationship that can be built, right? And so if you benefit from the relationship, that would actually then help you to build a better building company. Because I'm telling you, if you're strung out and you're stressed, it's because you haven't got systems, you haven't got good people in your life, right? It's just the way it is, okay? So let's get after it. So what we're trying to do is to grow as a human and our emotional quotient and our ability to manage higher financials. Because sometimes I've said to guys, you need to not do more than 500,000. You're getting too much anxiety. It's causing you too much stress. There's too much worry. You're not there yet. Now, I'm not saying never to. I'm just saying right now you need to flatline and consolidate. Okay, so you got to ask yourself the question, am I ready? Should I stay in a consolidation mode? And consolidation just means to make strong that which you currently have. Or am I in a position where I go, you know what, I'm ready to launch and go to the next step? Okay, so this is where you've got to do some soul searching and be honest. Don't just get caught up in, I need to get bigger ticket items. I need to do a $900,000 job like Max. Dude, I am 52 and I've been in this game since I was 16. Do the friggin' math. It's a long time. Okay, I've been around the construction game. I've developed over time. See, you want what I've got, perhaps, maybe not, and you want it now as a 26-year-old. I'm like, dude, I can't just unplug a USB and shove it in your USB slot and give it to you. If I could, I would. There'd be some money in that, but I can't. So what happens is, it's the evolution. It's where I've always desired to have a successful business. I've always enjoyed learning. I've always faced up to challenges head on because I know that in there's a secret that is going to reveal to me what I can do better going forward. Okay, so this is where you've got to start doing some reconciliation around. It's not just checklists and dot points on a whiteboard. Okay, you, the human, are going to drive your business, no different to me, the human, got to drive my business. Leaders lead. Okay, speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. If you're not accountable to somebody, how do you even know what accountability is going to do for your business? You just think it's another friggin' word that Max uses. Whereas if I can demonstrate to you the accountability process, you can then turn around and that empowers your team to stay on track inside the systems. And when they step outside the system, there's an accountability measure that kicks in and you start asking questions like, so we've got a system in place. This is how I'd like it done. Well, why did we deviate? See, that's how it works in a really broad sense. Okay, right, let's get back on track. Okay, so the reason I'm outlining this is because I see too many builders that don't have a process. So they're flipping and flopping and they change it and they're like, oh, what do I do today? See, unfortunately, I'm not much of a clothes hanger. So I like to wear my black shirts and my jeans and my R.M. Williams boots and belt, and that's it. That's me like most days, okay? Very rarely will I go outside and not be dressed like this, and this is the system. It takes me no energy in the morning to get ready. It's the same process, okay? So what I need you to, and it's boring, I get it. What I need you to do is have a system within your business that actually bores you because you go, this is just the same old thing over and over again. Correct, okay? Because that means there's a system in place. Now, if I recruit good team, they can work the system like I do that's documented. Now I start to get leverageability from that. And when we're trying to get to that position where we've got some freedom, I know most guys I talk with, me included, I don't want to go and sit on a beach for 40 hours a week for the rest of my life. I'm telling you, okay, that will get old quick, right? So I do want to be involved in business. I like what I do. I don't do what I've done for as long as I've done it because I'm doing it for a paycheck only, right? I love the game. I love the challenge. I love the development. The technology is changing the way we do business as builders. I love all of that, okay? So what we want to do is develop that system. So what I want to do is break down how I would lead, and because I've got one at $900,000, what's the story thus far and what am I going to do once we kick off in September? How are we going to run with this? Right, so let's cut to the chase quickly. Ensuring the project can be built. So obviously on the board here, we've got discovery and feasibility. So a couple of points. Obviously, now depending on where you are, we've either got city or council, okay, requirements. Okay, please do not go and get into contract or anything with a client, take any money off them until such time as you know that there is an ability for you to actually complete the project the way the clients want it. I've seen builders that have taken money from clients, tens of thousands of dollars. There was a slight deviation from the city or the council standpoint. The client said, if I have to do that because the city or the council wants me to do that, I don't want to do the build. By this time, the builder's got the money. Worse still, the builder's got the money, spent the money. Now the contract folds, client wants money back. Builder hasn't got money. So this is why we're walking through a very standard. Don't get commission breath, okay? Don't go, oh, this is a deal, it's a sure thing, and go and grab the cash, because I'm telling you, friend, you're going to end up in a world of hurt if you go ahead and do that. So before diving into the design and costing stages, the first step is to ensure that the project is feasible, and we've got to contact the city or the council to inquire about zoning, permits, building codes, with any potential restrictions, okay? Right, so to give you an idea, so when we're talking about a second story addition, it's almost $1 million worth of project. Because I knew this, I contacted we spoke with the client and I explained them this. What I've just explained to you, I've got to kind of give them a bit of a paraphrased version, but nonetheless, I've got to explain to the client that, hey, I want to make sure. Now, in this case, a couple of things that I was concerned about, the septic system and the height restrictions, okay? Because we're adding another story on a 2-story home. So essentially it's going to be basement, main floor, second floor. And so I needed to make sure. So I've said to the client, I said, now this is management, right? Leaders lead. So I said to the client, I said, right, Mr. Homeowner, this is what we have to do. And this is why I do this. And if we don't do this, these are the risks for not doing this. And I don't want to go there. And he's like, I don't want to go there either. I'm like, good. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is, this is how it works. We have the architect go and do a measure up, and there's fee for service, right? And it's going to cost this much roughly. And then what he's going to do is he's going to go and see the senior planner at the city or the council. And he's going to outline exactly what we intend on building. And then he's going to come back with communication that says, okay, it's all good except for this, or it's a no-go, or everything's in order, we're good to go. Okay. Now, when we figured out that it was all green, and we figured out a mitigation plan for upgrading the septic system, and that the height restriction was not a problem, we were able to then, that was kind of the discovery. Now, part of the discovery also was, what happened before that was that I took a phone call, the initial phone call with the client. And in that phone call, I outlined what I thought that second story addition was going to be. And literally 2 weeks ago, we had the update, or we had a discussion around the same topic, i.e. what's this going to cost to build? And I was still on point with my initial. And he's like, good, let's keep moving. So remember, clients, just because they say it once doesn't mean that that just stays forever, because they're emotional and they're concerned about the finances, and rightly so. And so we've got to be mindful along the way that it's just not set and forget. We've got to make sure that we're on, we are got the head on the swivel and we're watching. So that's the client's financial capability. We've got to make sure that they have that. So I addressed that up front. I said, right, this is how many square feet, this is roughly how many dollars per square foot, and this is the overall price. How do you feel about that, Mr. Homeowner? And he's got, well, I got a quote, I got an indication that was 30 or 40% more than that, so you're on the money, that's what I expect, that's what I want to spend, good to go. And I'm like, right, we're happy. So I've got financial capability up front, got that sorted out. Then I've pushed into let's get an architect, get some concept drawings. Get architect, or you the builder, depending on who's got the capability, to go and see the city or the council to figure out where are we going to get into strife if we build this. Now, fortunately, we were building straight up, so we weren't encroaching, getting any closer to boundaries, getting any closer to the lake, because it's right on the lake. It's going to be a fantastic build. And we certainly weren't coming forward, getting closer to the street. So it was quite an easy one for us to figure out. Right, stage 2. Which is kind of where we are at now, is the design and costing stage. So it's the selection. What else have I got? The city council, and then obviously financial capability is the other one to go in here. Right, are they financially set up to do it? Right, so the design and costing stage. So what have we got here? We've got 3. So we got the design and plan. Costing and final proposal. Now, understand in that final proposal, there's always going to be some negotiation, possibly. Final proposal, and then, final negotiation is over here. And this is potentially where we could move into something like that. See, that's why I'm a builder. Right, so let's talk about, we've just talked about the design and plan development. Then really is the selections process. So if we don't know what we're building, how are we going to design it? So where I am right now with this project, And I guess this is what, side note, as a business coach, specifically around construction, working with builders, there's, I'm not sort of like, oh, I've got this coaching credential, which I do have, but I'm also an operator, okay? And so because of that, every day that I operate, I learn something, or I go, this is what I could impart to my audience or impart to my EBA clients. So I will never feel like I'm not on the cutting edge of information and technology as it relates to building and construction. Okay, so if you're thinking about getting a coach, maybe that'll help you ascertain who's going to suit you best. Right, so where I'm at right now is we have got now final construction drawings. So remember, the architect goes through the concept design, and then we go into the construction design, and then those construction drawings get handed now as part of the next phase of play to the engineers. Now, I can't start costing until I get engineers' drawings. Why? Well, because most people want to know exactly what the engineer wants done before they'll start pricing, which is fair, okay? Now that I've got that thing on the boil over there, right, as it relates to, I know I've got construction drawings, they're in the hands of the engineers, I've signed off on his fee proposal, the client's already paid me for that, right? Now, the engineer's got it. At the same time, what I've got to start working on now, because remember, I need engineering and final construction drawings to be done so I can cost and get quotes. Then at the same time, I need to have selections on the go. Okay, so these two things happen. So the engineer is going to take about 2 to 3 weeks to put all of his design criteria together and then submit that back to us in accordance with the construction drawings. Okay, at the same time, I've got to get selections underway and make sure that process it culminates with the engineering. So if that's the case, then what I can do is I can start to put together the final proposal. Right, now I am expecting that I am going to be either at the budget number that I've thrown out there or slightly below it. Obviously, I'll start to win brownie points if I do come under budget. If I go over budget, that's going to get a little challenging. Now, the final negotiation, this is where when you make this proposal, you get the costing and you go, let's call it a first draft. Now, in some cases, maybe on a project like this, that generally won't happen. There's going to go, the minute you drop that in their inbox, more often than not, there's going to be some deliberation about maybe the cost, specifically if you've gone over the initial indication, which is why we need to be a little bit, conservative and maybe just overquote it slightly, so that we minimize the time spent in the final negotiation. Okay, now, there's some challenges there. Guys, if you're too desperate to get work, the final negotiation is going to consist of this. Okay, client, I will drop my price to give it to you to what you want it. Like, that's the natural reaction because you've done so much work in getting it to the final negotiation that you don't want to lose it, okay? So, and this is why it helps if you're under the number that you've given, and that number that I presented just comes from a little bit of data, a little bit of experience, and obviously local knowledge and how things roll. So, I think we're going to be at a point where we will go from final proposal to the final negotiation in fairly quick time. Now, if I've done everything right in the selections process and I've got everything that forms part of my costing for the job, and the number is around or under the money that we talked about, I should be able to close the deal at that final negotiation pretty darn quickly. Now, what we're going to do, once we've got the plan sorted out and the engineering, the client has insisted that I go and submit the application for a building permit. That's the other thing that's got to happen once the engineering's done. So engineering's happening, selections are happening. Once engineering is done and selections and costing continues on, we then flip that and go to the city with an application. And then whilst it's in there, because it's going to be in there for 6 to 8 weeks minimum, right, we've got to finalise the price. So the final negotiation is maybe not necessarily around price. I might withhold my final negotiation or my proposal until I've got word back from the city or the council. Okay, so I don't want to rush out there and go and drop a number on the table because then I don't want to be over and I don't want to be under. I want to be kind of at the money, right? So construction and delivery. So that's the next thing. Obviously, in a perfect world, we've got selections taken care of, costing sorted, engineers are good, We've got a red stamp on a bunch of blueprints. Now we're ready to basically build. I will then happily go to a contract. Now, the construction and delivery part is where there must be boundaries and expectations. So we've got to set boundaries and we've got to manage expectations, okay? And so he instructed the client, said to me, I want you in on September 1, I want you out on May 1. It's about, 8 months, 9 months, whatever that is. And I'm like, fine, plenty of time. And we're still on track, well and truly. And so what he said to me last week on Friday was that he's just realised that he's got to move all of his furniture out. It's pretty hard to renovate with it in there. So he's now pushed me back to the 15th of September as a start and a completion on May 15th. So that's all in writing. So that's good. And so with that extra time, it doesn't change my intensity as it relates to getting the approvals and everything that I need, because I do want to close the deal. I need a contract signed and I need the money in the bank because it needs to get locked and loaded so I can put it into my project start schedule so I know where I'm up to with the forecast amount of work. That helps me with my cash flow projection as well. So it's very clear in my mind. Now, when I'm dealing with my homeowner client, they're very comfortable. Matter of fact, I could get my phone out, but there was, I called him on Friday afternoon. This homeowner and anyone that's dropping that sort of coin deserves this. So every Friday, I reach out to him one way or the other. So last week I called him and didn't answer, so I shot him a text. Hey, just want to let you know, I've just spoken to the engineer. He's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. Based on what he's seeing at the moment, it's about 8 weeks in city. At this rate, we should be locked and loaded in mid-August, ready to go for September 1. That was my communication. See, we haven't even started building, but what I'm trying to do is demonstrate a high level of clarity and commitment and communications that's going to, because remember, this client's 12 hours away on the road. Okay, now that client is going to be in town here in the next couple of weeks and I look forward to meeting him. I've never met him face to face. I've done Zoom calls with him and we've talked on the phone a lot, but it's how you operate in the pre-construction phase, which will put the minds at rest of the client to know that, you know what, we've got the right builder. If the building and construction side of things is enjoyable as the pre-construction, mate, I can't wait to see the finished product. That's what I do. I'm not a business coach. I'm an operator, although I run a coaching company. But it's what I do on a daily basis where I believe that this kind of show can bring the awareness and the education. It just doesn't have the accountability wrapped up in it. But it's what I do for a job. Let's say I'm an operator. And so when I think about what I would want if I was that guy 12 hours away, I then behave and communicate and deliver at that level that's going to help him sleep at night. That makes my job easier, folks. It's not an inconvenience for me to ring that guy on a Friday afternoon. You know why? Because I know that he wants an update. So I give it to him. Good, bad, and ugly. Get it on the table. Because I'm telling you, if they have to absorb your idiosyncrasies and those things, that's going to create friction. And if you're struggling in the pre-construction phase, be very mindful, my friend. They do not have to sign a building contract with you. They can take the data and go somewhere else. We start well, we finish strong. There's not starting well and doing a shit job in construction. And if you certainly don't start well, you're not going to get the job anyway. So you need to figure yourself out, right? Be honest with yourself, okay? Like this is the accountability. I've got to look you in the eye and go, mate, that is unacceptable. You want to run a successful building company. You want to go from $750,000 to $2 million. Well, if you keep behaving that way, it's not going to happen. Sorry to be preaching at you. That's pretty hardcore, isn't it? Okay, but you get my drift, okay? It's called tough love, right? I've raised 6 kids. It's kind of the way it is. My old man was raising me. He was a tough guy. And it just sort of, shit rolls downhill. Okay, so what that then transitions into is I've got a high value target. There's not many guys and gals sitting out there that going, geez, my business doesn't even do $500,000 and this guy's shooting his mouth off about a $900,000 build. And I don't know you. I don't know where you're up to. But to me, it's just, I wouldn't disrespect this opportunity by saying it's a walk in the park, but I am very comfortable at a $900,000 build. It's not my biggest build. My biggest build was a $1.1 million 5-plex for Grace Tang, who was an investor in 2010-ish. So this is not my first rodeo, right? Whereas if you've not done any jobs over $100,000, for you to think about a $900,000 job, we will keep you awake at night. okay? And this is why, guys and gals, if you're young, I've talked about putting EBA Young Guns together, right? Shout out to all the 20s and 30s and maybe 40s guys who just get, I can't crack this. And I'm thinking about putting this 12-week Young Guns thing together. I've had one individual reach out to me and say, Max, sign me up for EBA Young Guns. One. This podcast gets somewhere between 500 and 1,000 downloads a week. And I've had one EBA Young Gun contender. I'm not running EBA Young Guns for one guy. I'm going to have to do something with that young guy to figure out. But this is where you've got to put your money where your mouth is. Okay, you've got to pay to play. Okay, I talked about advertising a couple of weeks ago. Some business coaches, this is not a business coaching thing. This is a business success thing. They're saying if you want to do 3 million or above, you've got to be investing 90 grand a year in advertising. See, you pay to play. If you think you're saving money, what you're doing is you're burning daylight. So pay money, get your life back, get your time back. When we say that you can't buy time, yeah, you cannot pay the ignorant tax. That's what you can do. Okay, which brings us to, oh crikey, construction delivery. Right, so what was I was talking about? Obviously timelines. Right, right, and that as it relates to design approvals and obviously construction and project management. Okay, so down here now, this brings us, we segue straight into this, right? Because I've just lent on you pretty hard. And this is where I take it for granted. Now, keep in mind, my personality type. So if you go and look at DISC, D-I-S-C, and I'm an alpha dog and my personality is in the minority. So apparently it's about, and I've just been told this is not me saying I'm the guy who knows everything, but I'm about 10% out of the whole population that has my personality traits, okay? And so it doesn't make me special, it just makes me unique. And doing what I do on a daily basis, doing what I do in business, some of the things that I've had to go through, it's probably a good thing that I am that way inclined, right? Now, and what I'm getting at is how do you handle the pressure? Now, I'm a pretty explosive personality and I love a little bit of confrontation. So when it comes to, now the thing is, that's where the emotion goes up. Now I've said, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that for me, my greatest challenge is to regulate. Regulate, because when my emotion goes up, I get terribly explosive. And that's dangerous because it can bring all of my good work unstuck. And later on when my emotion comes down, I'll be like, why did I do that? And I've done that more times than I care to admit. It's just like, remorse is a thing, right? And so what I've got to be very mindful of is that how do I respond? So now the opposite as well, and I've seen this, where it's like I've just explained how I kind of can deal with things, especially if there's pressure on me. I get explosive. I've got to bring down the emotion, regulate, so I make better decisions on the way forward, okay? Now, the flip side of that personality is the guy or the gal that puts his head in the sand and is not good at making decisions under pressure. Now, you might be nodding your head. Inside you might be thinking, mate, that feels like me. And it's not meant to be judgment. I'm not judging you. What I'm saying is, I know what I am like and I need to regulate, okay? So I need to keep an eye on my behavior. So for everybody else, you've got to do the same thing. So you can't cower, you can't run away. If you're that way inclined, just a side note, if you put your head in the sand, it makes your ass easy to kick, okay? So don't do it, right? You've got to start living outside your comfort zone. It's outside my comfort zone to regulate and be calm again. How many people tell me to go, Max, I think you're overreacting. I think that's a bit too much. I think you're just taking it a little bit too far. It's like, that is where I've got to regulate. Well, if you're a pacifist and you're somebody who doesn't like confrontation, then there's going to be a point in time where you need to deal with a certain situation, not the way I deal with it, the way you deal with it. But you can't run away from it and ignore it, okay? People think that's a solution or that's how you deal with it. It's not, okay? Because what that's going to happen is you're going to limit your ability to succeed in business. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just limits, reduces, removes your effectiveness, your efficiency, and your long-term improvement plan. It just completely squanders that. Because your challenge in business is never going to go away. I think I explained it already, either this episode or the last one. It's like when you start wanting to grow a business, You solve a challenge, and the minute you do that, it's like whack-a-mole. You bash that one down and bang, something else pops up. That is exactly what happens, okay? So what we're talking about is organizational pressure that's going to come on you and how you manage that effectively, right? So areas where you're going to get some pressure is in team coordination, okay? And then obviously, I'm going to go over here, client communication. Right? Client comms. Now, the reason I bring those two things up is because humans are by far our greatest challenge, no question. If you're a client of mine, I would give you access to 400 plus standard operating procedures that would, for the most part, 80% of them will work in your building company today. So that's not a problem. Systems are not the problem. Marketing and branding, yeah, there's some problems there, but you can easily solve those with some mechanics. However, when it comes to recruitment, team building, all of a sudden now there's a lot of things that are out of our control, which puts, really puts pressure on us. So team coordination, hitting deadlines, and then client communications. Obviously, with the advent or the invent or whatever you call it of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT and the like, it gives us the ability to be able to take those emails that are a little bit prickly from clients and drop those into AI and help us and assist us with making a very appropriate response, right? Failure to respond will create friction and automatically increase the stress on you because you'll go to bed thinking about it, you'll wake up thinking about it, and you'll freaking have nightmares about it. Okay, so the organizational pressure is real, not underestimating it. And preparing for demands of the project will help you stay focused, avoid the mistakes, and build a reputation for delivering quality work on time. I've said it before, if homeowners could go and buy their renovation off the shelf at Walmart, they would. They would rather not deal with me. I might be a nice guy, you might be a nice gal or guy, but at the end of the day, if they could avoid that and click their heels, wiggle their nose and have their reno done, they would be pumped. Okay, so we are a necessary evil. So don't take it for granted or think of yourself more highly than you ought. Okay, you're not special. You're just in there solving a problem. Get in and get out and make the experience the best it can be. Successfully managing larger renovation projects requires a clear step-by-step process from discovery through to your contract signing with the right systems in place, from ensuring the project is feasible to managing clients' expectations and overseeing project delivery. You can confidently take on larger projects that will fuel your business growth. But remember, the pressure is significant, but with patience, preparation, and a solid process, you can handle it effectively. Hit me up on email, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. Get across to Business for Builders VIP. It's a private group. Answer the questions. If you're a good sort, I'll let you in. If you've got anything else you want to chat with me about coaching for contractors or builders, get across to elitebusinessadvisory.com. Hit the book a consultation button. It's a complimentary coaching session. You'll get 30 minutes of my time. We can chat about your business and you can tuck that information under your arm and hopefully that'll improve. Whether or not you want to work with me as a business coach, up to you. I think that's about it. One of these drops every week. Like and subscribe. Leave us a review. Help us get the word out. And go build a kick-ass business. I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.